Algebra 2 skills number 46, composition of functions. So a composition of functions is when one function kind of goes into another. It's an operation that's specific to functions. And we got 3 steps to it that will make more sense with examples. But you have an outside function and inside function. Basically, you start with the outside function, you take its variables away and put gaps or parentheses instead, and you fill those gaps or parentheses with the inside function and simplify. So let's look at an example of that. First, notation. You can see either one of these notations. Either way, it's read f of g of x. I prefer the one on the left because it really shows one function kind of going into another. But sometimes you see this with that little O-looking operator. So here we have 2 functions, f of x in yellow, g of x in red. And what does it mean to find f of g of x? I think the color coding will help here. So notice I started with the outside function, f, and I just wrote the yellow function except x went away, and a parenthesis took its place, or you could put just a gap there. Now that x is gone. It's not going to show back up. It's just gone. There's a gap there. And inside that gap, and the colors really help here, x squared plus 10 fills that position. Okay, so it becomes x. Again, the original x is gone. That x comes from g. Now you just simplify. So the answer here would be x squared plus 7. So again, we started with that first function you see, f. We wrote it exactly as we saw it, except we took x out, put a parenthesis instead. And inside that parenthesis, we put the other function. Second example, same 2 functions, we're going to reverse it. This is called g of f of x. So this time we start with g, except again, the x is gone. Now notice the square stays around here. That parenthesis takes x's spot. And inside that parenthesis is going to go the yellow part, x minus 3. Okay, and here it's a little harder to simplify. You have to write x minus 3 twice, multiply it out, and combine like terms. You might want to pause just to make sure the math is that you can follow the math there. But g of f of x, again, same principle. Start with the first letter you see, you write that function, except take x out and put a gap or a parenthesis. With a square or any kind of operator with it, the parenthesis I think is better than just a gap. A third example shows 2 things. Number 1, you can put a function into itself. Okay, h of x, it's perfectly fine to put a function into itself. And secondly, of course, the function can have 2 variables or more, in which case you'll fill both variables with itself basically. So those 2 x's are gone, they become parentheses, and they get filled with, in this case, that same function. So 4x squared plus x took over for x in each position. This one's going to take a little longer to simplify. Same thing, you got to square it. So multiply all that out. Starts to look complicated here, but it's not too hard to follow. I just copied the 4, I just copied these 2, and just multiply that out. Now distribute the 4 and combine to finish. So there's h of x, composition of function.